Oh man, so Binance Smart Chain has just been hacked for $100 million. What does this mean for the price action? Am I selling my Binance position? We're going to get straight into this because what has happened over the last 24 hours has been that the hacker has exploited the BSC token hub. So a lot of people are getting this confused. This is the bridge, yes, a bridge between the BNB beacon chain, BEP2 tokens, across to your BEP20 tokens on the BNB chain. So this is a bridge. And why is this important? This is important because we've seen that during 2022, this has been a common route for many hackers to target these bridges. Layer 1 chains are pretty secure right now and have limited outage apart from Solana recently. And that's why you're seeing that a lot of hackers are finding the vulnerabilities in the bridges. And it was no different here. CZ was woken up at 3 a.m. He says here on his Twitter, he's woken up at 3 a.m. and they found out that the exploit was on the bridge. The team went ahead and they asked validators to temporarily suspend the Binance Smart Chain. And this is the bit that has got a lot of people particularly frustrated. And this is understandable, right? You would expect this platform to be decentralized. So a lot of people are saying, oh, but you've just turned the system off. You've suspended it. But this shows you the pros and cons. And there's always a give and take, guys. There's always a give and take between decentralization and centralization. So in this instance here, they said that they reached out to the validators and the validators all cooperated. But we also know that there's a level of centralization here with the Binance Smart Chain. They don't have the biggest number of validators, and that really helps in situations like this. Would this have been the same outcome on a fully decentralized layer 1 solution where the bridge was attacked, but they had, let's say, 400 validators which they had to coordinate to turn the chain off? Maybe the hack would have been much larger. So there's always these pros and cons, and it's difficult to kind of find the balance. But we always know that, right? If you opt for a centralized exchange to buy your crypto, if you forget your password, there's always going to be a support team you can reach out to. Whereas if you do it through a decentralized MetaMask and you do something wrong, it's a lot harder. So there's pros and cons to everything. So we found out that this has happened. They've managed to mobilize and contain it. Funds are now apparently safe. Okay, but where does this leave Binance? One thing we need to understand before getting into what it means for the price action is this. The current impact estimate is around $100 million equivalent, about a quarter of the last BNB burn. As we know, BNB has been burning about 400 million every single quarter, and this is about a quarter of their last burn. Now, the other thing we need to understand is this resulted in extra BNB. This was not people's BNB taken. They minted extra through this exploit. That's what it seems so far from the data I've got currently. And this is a big difference to users losing their funds. It was an exploit which resulted in more being minted. Doesn't make it okay, doesn't make it immaterial, but it puts it into perspective of what happen. Now, few positives before I then go into some of the negatives. The positives was I really like how transparent CZ has been, and this is an important thing for me. Anybody who have been watching my kind of coverage of Do Kwon and the Luna collapse and various other things around 3 Hours Capital and Celsius, one thing I'm big on is accountability and transparency. And I think the Binance team have done a good job in this crisis management scenario of being prepared. You can tell that they have a script in place, that they know what to do and they know what the methodologies are to get things done, to coordinate with validators, to pause the chain, to fix the issue, to now I think they're going to do an upgrade in the next few hours once they coordinate the validators to upgrade and fix the issue. Okay? So this is good. This is good as opposed to Do Kwon where we just didn't hear from him, radio silence for a couple of days. That's not great, right? So I like the accountability. I like the transparency from CZ. It helps even though it's a bad situation. We've also had a statement here, official from Binance, where they've gone through and explained. Feel free to go and watch this. In essence, they're saying, what happens next? What do we do with the hacked funds? Do we freeze them or do we not freeze them? Do we use the BNB auto burn to cover the remaining hacked funds or not? A white hat program. Should we introduce a new program that if anybody finds a significant bug, they'll get $1 million? Good earner for you guys if you're good coders out there. And a bounty for catching hackers up to 10% of the recovered funds. So now it's all about focusing on fixing the issue and then putting in the protocols in place of your learnings. And I think this is really important. I don't know if any of you have read a book. There's a book called Black Box Thinking. I encourage you to all read it. And I remember reading this book when I was younger, and it really resonated with me because what it was talking about was the airline industry. If you study the airline industry, you will find that anytime there is an air crash, they study it to lengths, to such high degrees that now traveling by aeroplane is far safer than being on the road in a car. Because when you have a car crash, nobody studies it to the extent that they will study an air crash. So I think it's important that once a hack does take place, what is the process that happens behind it? Is there going to be, a kind of NTSB, which is your National Transport Safety Board in the US, which covers, these kind of traffic-related incidents? Is there going to be the equivalent for blockchain space? Can we have a board that comes in and investigates independently what happened and produce a report with findings and outcomes that each layer 1 solution could improve on. I think that would be a really great step forward for the space, and definitely if we can work on something like that, I think that would be hugely welcome, because one thing we know, hacks will continue, but what we should and must do is to continue to learn from these hacks and continue to be better next time, such that these things do not continue to be our same Achilles heel repeating time after time. So let's get straight into the Binance Smart Chain charts, and as you can see here, we're taking a little bit of a beating here on the price, but not crazy, right? You had a big down day yesterday. I mean, yesterday took you from a high of 298 down to a low of 278. You would have felt it. We're opening up another day in the red today. If I pop this down to the 4 hourly, you'll see it a little bit more pronounced. And if I pop it to the hourly, you will see where the news came out and it kind of recovered thereafter. And the reason you're seeing it hold up pretty well is I think people are putting it into perspective of what is going on. Yes, it was a hack. Yes, it's been contained. Yes, user funds were safe. No, it wasn't downtime on the network. It's not the same as Solana where you just get outage on the network. It was, they chose to suspend the chain, which again has its pros and cons. Some people be worried about the fact that, oh, they're just, they're flexing their centralized muscle, which could be a concern. But for me, I'm not going to be selling my position right now. I don't think that's enough given the amount of time I've given Solana and chances I've given Solana. I don't think this is something that's going to make me panic sell just now. It's not great, and we have to analyze and we have to understand that it's not great, but at the same time, you have to say that this is not an isolated incident. I think any given layer 1 solution today could be hacked. There's not one that I feel confident that is just fail-proof and it's not going to get hacked. I feel like they're all in the same bubble. They've got a huge bounty on their head to be hacked because the rewards are so immense. I mean, whoever hacked that, 100 million, how they get that out and if they can ever get access to it, that's a different story. But the rewards are huge, so you're going to have some of the world's smartest minds trying to hack these layer 1 solutions. So there we go. That's the price action we're seeing right now. Obviously, hugely suppressed from where we were here on all-time highs, but we do get a bunch of learnings from this incident, and I do like the transparency we've seen from CZ. Now let's switch across to what's coming up in the next few hours, because I do want to give you an update on what is going to be happening here with Bitcoin, because we've got our non-farm payrolls coming out in the next few hours. Okay, so when the US markets open up, we will be getting our non-farm payrolls. We're expecting these, let me just remind you guys, we're expecting around 250,000 new jobs to be created. That's going to drop down from 315,000 from the previous month. If that drops too much, then markets won't like it. But if it doesn't drop, markets also won't like that. So it's like the Goldilocks number. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. You want to see it come around that 250,000, 245,000. If it comes in too low, markets won't like it. If it doesn't come low, if it's high, like 300,000 again, markets will not like it because it will remind them that Jerome Powell can continue to increase rates. Okay, and what we are seeing, that markets are 70% now pricing in a 75 basis point increase in the interest rate. So markets are leaning towards another aggressive increase on the November the 2nd meeting by the Fed. So a lot for us to monitor here on Bitcoin. If I switch on over here to the 4 hourly chart, you can see what is happening is we are getting this double top pattern play out. I will give you an update later on today once we do get the news around the non-farm payrolls as to how this situation is playing out, but you can see that double top pattern is what we're monitoring right now. We can see this, and now we're at that neckline. Are we going to break and start heading lower? Remember, we got a longer term support line, which I've drawn in there for you guys in the yellow line. It's okay if we want to come back down into this zone here. That's a great opportunity to load up a bag to then see if you can long that up through here and potentially break off the 20,300 level. And as always, guys, if you want to trade any of these moves with me, you can do so using the links in the description to BYBIT or BitGet. Hope you guys funds are safe. Don't forget to keep your money in cold storage. Can't emphasize that enough. Particularly when you're in a bear market, liquidity is strapped, and that's the most important time that your most important assets. I'm not saying don't leave a little bit on exchanges if you need to, but even then, I'd say keep some on at least a soft wallet, an e-wallet, and definitely keep the majority of your important funds on a cold storage wallet. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to go watch this video here, and I'll see you in the next one.